Hi everybody, I'm Stacy. I'm a registered nurse. Welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome in. If you're coming back, I'm so glad to have you. I think today I just want to talk about some strengths and weaknesses. We all have them, and when we do interviews for new jobs, we are often asked about what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, that sort of thing. So I'm going to focus on mine today, but what are your strengths and weaknesses? Have you thought about this? Have you thought about how to make those better? I would love to hear about it in the comments. And if you like what you see here, then I ask that you like, subscribe, and follow for more. So when we do a new job, we often get asked in our interviews, what are some strengths that you have? What are some weaknesses? What's a difficult time that you went through and how did you handle it? When's a time you had conflict with another coworker and how did you handle that? I think those all fall into our strengths and weaknesses. When we're talking about our strengths, we're talking about the things that we do well, right? I think personally that my strengths would be that I'm really good at organizing where I should go in my day. I'm really good at understanding and navigating what a day should look like for me and how many patients I can fit into that day and gauge for the amount of time that I might need to utilize to do visits, to see patients. Another strength that I have is that I am really good. I feel like I'm really good at assessments. I'm good at looking at my patient, seeing what's going on, and understanding when a change is occurring. As a hospice nurse, it's really important that we're seeing when those little changes are happening so that we can capture when we need to increase our visits, when we need to back off of our visits, what needs to happen and who needs to be involved. I think I'm pretty good at this. Over time, I think that that's a skill that I've honed in on. I also think that I'm good at encouraging people. I think that that's a strength for me. I think that I can see other people's strengths and help them build upon that. Some weaknesses that I have, though, is that it's really hard for me to be flexible in my day. Something that you have to do as a hospice nurse, as a nurse really, is plan for the unplanned. Expect the unexpected. Something is going to change in your day, and the day that you laid out so perfectly, the week that you planned out so perfectly is not going to go to plan. So you really have to be able to look at that and say, and this is a strength, you really have to look at who is most critical that I have to see today and who is able to be moved to another day or missed if necessary this week. I think I'm strong in that area, but where I'm weak is that I have high emotional reactions to those changes. Not that they affect my patients, but they affect me and my day and potentially those that I work with, because I have a tendency to explode and then reason with myself and bring it back down. This often happens in my car alone. Most of the time people don't see this, but I get to thinking about it and I think if somebody was in the car with me right now and they saw this behavior, they would really not have a high opinion of me as a nurse, as a person even maybe. I think that as nurses, we do have to change our day a lot because we're taking care of people and people aren't machines and people change. Their condition changes rapidly. The things that they need change throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the shift. I have a hard time adding something new into my day sometimes. I can do it. I will do it. But I have a tendency, like I said, to have that emotional, visceral reaction. And I haven't learned how to control that immediate reaction, that knee-jerk response that you get when you have a feeling about something. A knee-jerk response is essentially a reflex, right? So I'm telling you that my reflex is to lose my cool. I'm telling you that my reflex is to panic about a change in my day. Do I make those changes effectively? I think so. I think I do. Another weakness that I would say that I have is that I will take on too many tasks for myself. And I have really good intentions. I want to get all of those things done that I'm telling you I'm going to get done. But let's be real, there's only so many hours in a day. And you need to be able to focus your attention on what's important. And you need to learn how to say no sometimes. You have to learn how to say, I'm sorry, I can't do that for you. I have a tendency to say yes, 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 yes. That's a weakness. Saying yes all the time is not a strength. It's not. We have to learn to know what our limitations are as well. In knowing your limitations, you can build your strengths. I feel like if you know what your weaknesses are, if you know what your strengths are, You have the opportunity to make those changes to yourself. The fact of the matter is, we can only be responsible for ourselves as people. And I just want to say that anything that I say is just my opinion, my life experience over the decades that I've been on this earth and worked. It is not medical advice. It doesn't replace medical advice. And it's certainly not something that you should feel you have to apply to your life, but if it helps you, I'm happy it did. That was my idea for making this channel, was helping other people who have similar situations to me as nurses. My personal feeling and my personal experience is that you never stop learning and you never stop growing. And if you focus on your strengths, you can build upon those. And if you focus on your weaknesses, you can make those changes to the things that you don't like about your character, about your work ethic, about yourself as a person. Only you. And also, you have to be able to take constructive criticism. There are going to be times that your supervisor or someone that you work with or your friend or your family is going to tell you something about yourself that hurts your feelings, and you're not going to want to hear it. But it is very important that you're able to allow yourself to hear constructive criticism, because that is the only way that you can grow. Sometimes we don't see the things that we're doing to sabotage ourselves and our day. We don't see those things. And if we get offended and we take everything personally that people say to us, we're never going to grow. I mean, have you ever seen a person that's just kind of stuck in their life where they're at? They're never changing. They're always complaining. It's never getting better for them. There's always a complaint. They always just see the negative. No matter what situation you present to them, they're not going to see the positive. They're not going to look for a way to make a change or improve, no matter what the suggestion is. And so you have to be able to look at yourself as a human being, as a nurse, as a professional, and say, okay, maybe I'm not doing that the best way that I can. How can I do that better? And be open to those suggestions and be willing to put that into practice. Constantly learning something new in nursing. And I think that's the really big thing about being a nurse or a professional in any aspect, right? You're going to learn something new every day if you open your mind and allow yourself to take in new information. The world is constantly changing. Guidelines for medical needs and healthcare are constantly changing. The laws are changing sometimes. You need to be aware of those things, and you need to be able to adjust yourself. You need to be able to adjust yourself to learn to do new things. And I started as a nurse in my 20s, and I'm almost to my 50s. I'm in my late 40s. And so I've seen a lot of changes over the years on protocol, on things that we used to do for our patients that we do not do now. For example, the comfort medicines that we used in previous years have changed over time, and the regulations about those comfort meds have changed depending on the environment that you're in. And I feel like one of my strengths is the ability to adapt to those changes in my practice, in my medical practice. My day-to-day scheduling, that's a whole other story. That's the area where I need to work on. That's the area I've been working on for years. I think that I will say honestly, over the years, I think that I have developed a little bit of, I've become more of a person that'll say, okay, this is what's happening, and move on with my day. Because sometimes you need to be able to say to yourself, this is what's happening today, and accept it and move on from it. Because a lot of times you can get into that attitude of complaining about why you can't get something done. And I've seen this happen many times in leadership, where you give a task to somebody and they tell you why they can't get it done, and they spend a lot of time on explaining why they can't get it done instead of finding a way to make it happen. And I find that that's what you have to do. If someone gives you a task to do, okay, it can set you back for a minute. You're allowed to have a reaction to it. You should be professional in your reactions. I'm speaking from experience on this. But you also need to be able to say, okay, how can I make this happen in my day? And make it happen. Because if you're going to have to do it, complaining about it is only going to set you back further. So I am a little bit of a complainer about some things. For example, when you start giving me a bunch of information at one time, and I have a hard time processing it all, it stresses me out. I am not a person that can take in 10 conversations at once. I am a one-on-one person. I am a one task at a time person, and sometimes my role requires me to do more than one task at a time and to be paying attention to multiple conversations. And I really, really struggle with that, and it frustrates me. I have the hardest time giving my attention to all the things that need my attention in a day. And you can only say sorry so many times, right? If you're not changing what you're doing, then sorry is really an irrelevant statement. If you say you're sorry and you don't change the behavior that you're doing, then people begin to not appreciate your apology, and they don't feel that you're sincere. I'm speaking from a person who's heard many apologies that weren't sincere, and I'm speaking as a person who has given apologies that probably weren't perceived as sincere, since I've had to say them numerous times. Some things are out of your control. In healthcare, some things are out of your control and you can't control it. But I think it's really important as nurses, as health professionals, as professionals in the working world, that we look at ourselves, recognize what our strengths are and build on those, and look at our weaknesses and see where we can improve upon those. What can we do to make our weaknesses our strengths? How can we turn that around and make it into something that makes us stronger? Because everybody has weaknesses. Everybody has things that they don't like about themselves. But those are the things, if you recognize those things, you can take time to turn them around, work on them, and add them to your strengths and become a better health professional. What are some things that you wish you could do differently? What are some things that you really like about yourself as a nurse? How does that play into your day? Does it help you get through the day? Do you find that you struggle or get stuck on something that you're struggling with? How do you feel when a coworker or a leader give you constructive criticism? Do you feel attacked, or do you feel like it's an opportunity to do better? Those are just some questions in my mind. I would love to talk about it in the comments. And if you like what you see here, then I ask that you like, subscribe, and follow for more, and I hope to see you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.